I found Vipassana meditation very helpful. It's not connected with any dogma, and it centers yourself, makes your mind one-pointed, and then you can really reach different states of consciousness and try to work with it.
So that's a form of Buddhist meditation?
Yes, it's a form of Theravada meditation. It's the oldest form. It's one of the 18 first schools, the only one which survived. And I was lucky. I started with the village abbot in northern Thailand, and then I found a Burmese master here in the Bay Area, and it's taught all over. If you want to look out for it, you can find it.
Yeah. And I suppose as we look at the religious traditions throughout the world, you've talked about Islam and Buddhism, the shamans have interacted with these mainstream established religions, virtually all of them throughout their history.
Well, interacted more or less. They had to blend in and to be accepted by the society, so they definitely had to be a good Muslim. And this is what the Mufti told me. As long as they pray every day 5 times and go to the mosque on Friday, we tolerate them as shaman. So it was not so much a cooperation, it just was to adapt to society.
Learning how to fit in. And Buddhism in particular has had quite an extensive link with shamanism, especially in Tibet.
Yeah, this very strongly. And Theravada Buddhism, it actually shouldn't occur, but I found a lot of monks in Thailand practicing it, and it would fall under the upaya, useful means, of course, would be tolerated. So if you're not developed very highly in your spiritual career, then you can take advantage of these means. But if you are more developed, you simply wouldn't need to take resort to them, you know. But you are talking of Tibet, and you're so right. Tibetan Buddhism absorbed the early Bon religion, which was strongly shamanic and animistic, and they transformed beautifully the wrathful deities, and Tibetan Buddhism are the old deities of the Bon religion. And this made Buddhism acceptable to the Tibetan, and so shamanism survived.
You know, one thing that you told me that I found most fascinating is that it would be considered improper for a shaman to declare himself or herself as one. If somebody says, I am a shaman, that would be...
Should warn you. You should check up on this person, because shamans would be called by others, and usually by fellow shamans, greeted to the brotherhood or sisterhood of shamans. But people who claim to be a shaman usually aren't. It's a pretty good rule.
So there's a certain humility which is a prerequisite for this kind of work.
They always would declare that they're only serving. Serving the spirit or the deity or the divine energy, whatever you want to call it. It really doesn't matter, it's only a name.
And this is one of the universal characteristics.
Definitely, all over I found. Well, of course there are shamans who get rich, and usually it's the entourage who forces the shaman to ask for fees, because they want to profit from it. But the shaman's power get lost. And it becomes mechanical, or it becomes a cult, you know. And cultism and shamanism doesn't go together.
No. Now, many people have read the works of Carlos Castaneda, and his anthropological accounts of his work with Don Juan. Would you consider Don Juan, as described by Castaneda, to be a shaman?
I'm sorry, I have to say no, definitely not. It's a very beautiful book, it's elegantly written, and usually also brought people closer to shamanism, though they didn't know it's sorcery. It's definitely sorcery, because it's a play on power, and to empower the sorcery, or both the sorcerer and the others are getting into a power game, and I don't see any service to the community connected with it. It's a rather egotistic power play to me.
And yet shamans can be very powerful individuals.
Oh, certainly, they can use the power and can be sorcerers, and usually they try to counteract other acts of sorcery. Of course, the power can be used anyway, and it depends on the ethic of the shaman, which way he wants to go.
Well, when you say that, as you did earlier, that shamans are both at the top and at the bottom of our culture, there's this sense that a true master of this profession would be a master of almost every other skill.
I would say yes. I would say yes. And I found it. And I also found the best shamans I met were the most humble. Mm-hmm. And you would not recognize them in daily life. I met a remarkable one in Pattani, which is southern Thailand, and they're a large group of Malay shamans. He was 80 years old, and he had, well, I was told it's true, 90 children from 9 consecutive wives, and he was a strong and very vital man and lived in an old shack I did not want anybody to live in. And he was available and very productive. Mm-hmm. Very fertile too, which is one reputation shamans have too. Yeah.
Their strength has often been noted.
Yes.
Recall studies of anthropologists saying they can dance all night long, or sometimes for days.
They certainly do, and they can do other feats, walk on fire and pierce their cheeks and their tongues. And I just was in Korea. There was a conference on the International Society for Shamanic Research, and in Korea it's the only country where shamans can look back for an uninterrupted tradition. And for 2 days we went out in the country, and it was a joy to see. They don't mind television cameras. They can do it as well, or it's a 26th floor of a high-rise building. And I wanted to say something.
Well, there's an association, I recall, in Korea of shamans with some 60,000 members?
Yes, yeah, they have a union, yeah. A shaman union.
Well organized?
And almost every third person in Korea is a shaman or knows one or is related to them.
And they appear on television regularly?
Yeah, and they do their rituals. This I wanted to say. They climb a sword ladder, and I saw it, and it's a very sharp sword.
A ladder made out of swords.
Made maybe mostly 7 steps, and they climb it with naked feet and dance on top of it. And on top of it, they also have to balance this whole ladder. It's very shaky thing, and so I saw them perform it, and they were middle-aged women. One was already in her 70s, and she did it professionally like a snap, you know. And it is expected as a sign of their power, their concentration, you know. It was very beneficial and auspicious for everybody who was there, you know.
So there is this sense about these ancient peoples in a way that they're touching into something truly supernormal.
Well, we say supernormal. I think our concept of what is normal has to be revised, because it's a deep source. It's available in everybody. We only lost the faculty to access it, and therefore I suggested meditation, where you really can find it's an infinite source. It's available to everybody, well, if you want to pursue it, of course. Yeah.
That may be the greatest lesson of shamanism, that there's something essential about our modern culture in terms of our attunement with reality and our attunement with nature that shamans crop up everywhere to remind us about.
Yeah, well, I would be a little bit cautious with the shamans who crop up everywhere, but I think they can teach us to access what is inside of us, the infinite power which can be available if you want to work for it.
Ruth Inge-Heinze, thank you so much for being with me.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for being with us.